welcome back. So I'm going to get started getting this little 99 put back together. She's looking lovely, I must say, in her pinkalicious color. So I think I'm just going to get started up here in the nose. Why not? Let me go ahead and get her parts out and organized, and that's where we'll get started. So before I get started, I am just putting some oil down here on this slide plate area just because it is bare metal, you know, to work as a protectant for it. I think that that's going to be good. Maybe throw a little in these holes here. Okay, this down here did get a light coat of paint on it, just kind of misty paint, so that's fine. But you know what? We're going to throw some oil inside this hook. And someone is calling me. Hold on. All right, so I got all kinds of little parts here. I'm going to start putting my lifter lever in. Now, if you remember, this does have a little pin, okay, that's holding it in. And I still have that in there. Hang on a sec. My little plug is in that hole, so that's not going to be good. Hang on. All right, so with that out, I'm going to put this in. The part of the pin with all of the little ridges on it, that goes towards the front. And this is going to get pushed in. Okay, let me go get my little hammer and carefully tap that in. I'm using the nylon side just so I don't scratch anything, and I think that is good. Happy with it. So if you remember, I did not pound out this. This is the little tension release area. I didn't want to. So let me go ahead and get the needle bar things, because those are more in the background here. Okay, let's see if you can see in here. What I'm looking at is a couple things. First, this set screw right here that's next to this hole, that set screw is going to need to go up against the flat part here, okay? Now, this is going to be set in like that, okay? This long part going in that hole, this going over there. Behind here, I have this piece, okay? Now I want to show you something. I know that the side with the numbers needs to be out so I can see it, but that is too big. So just as a way to double check and make sure this is good here, okay? So if I'm looking at it with the numbers visible, watching where this little flat part is, I need to kind of push it in like this, watching that this flat part is lined up with that set screw. If that makes any sense at all. Like that. And what I'm going to need to do is tighten up the set screw. Oh no, I just moved it. I need to get my little wooden handle so I can push it in here, because the only way to get to that screw is if, hang on, I need to put this in differently. All right, so this needs to be bent that way. I had it bent the wrong way. All right, let's just start with this turned up that way, because I need to be able to get a screwdriver in through this hole and line it up with that screw. Okay, so that's how it has to be. But I need to get my little wooden handle. Here it is. See if I can do this. Stick it in here, and that's going to keep this from wanting to turn. Maybe if I put it down here. Will that work? Oh, come on. It's a little bit smaller in here than in a 66. In a 66, this little handle fits perfectly. All right, I think that's okay. So I just push that in there for a second. All right. So with that, I need to make sure that this little arm is sticking up in the front here. This flat part is angled towards the set screw. like that, and this is going to slide straight over. When this is towards, wherever this is towards, this little nub that sticks out is opposite. So that's kind of a way you can see where you're going here. All right, that's pretty close. I think I'm going to go ahead, stick this through, try to get it lined up with that set screw back there and cinch it in. Okay, it's in there now. Usually you can see everything kind of just settled it. And did you see that where it just slightly moved just a second ago? That means it was settling into where that flat spot is. So now I'm going to get this little reverse threaded screw, pop it up here, and cinch it in. Okay, so I had just, you know, to make some loosen here, tighten there, oil here, you know, all of that stuff. She's moving great now. Down here, when this is at the very bottom, this hole is going to line up with the hole in the back. I'm going to go ahead and push. I have the screw started in the back, you know. Push this through all the way, and I should be able to slide my needle bar in. Okay, this part here is on the bottom, facing out. Up here at the top, there's a flat part. That is facing backwards, right behind this little clamp. So let's see if she'll slide in there. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I turn this flat part towards the back, bring it straight down inside of here, and I am pushing it all the way down till I only have like maybe a millimeter of that needle bar just peeking out at the top. It's usually a good place for me to start. And then I can come back here in the back and get this screw cinched in. And I can kind of see through the little hole here what I'm doing, which is nice. And you know what? I'm going to put my balance wheel back on. It'll make it easier to turn this thing. All right. All good there. Let me go ahead and get my balance wheel popped on, and then we'll finish up front. All right, so I just kind of push the wheel on. Hopefully I can do this without having to take her off and put her upright. We will see. Maybe. Okey-doke. Having gravity work with you is better. Let's see if I got that washer on right. Yay, I did. Okay. All right. Okay, so with the wheel on, it's making it a lot easier to test out turning things. You can see she's moving great. So I'm going to go ahead and get out her presser bar pieces. Actually, you know what? There's a little thread guide that goes down here. Let me get that one taken care of. It's got this little screw. So underneath here, there's a hole. I need to bend over and take a peek at that. Let's put her little cushion here so that nothing gets scratched. Okay, if you can see, there is a tiny hole right there, and I'm going to push that little bar in it and rotate it towards the front. And get my screw starter here. Get back up there and get this cinched in. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so back in here, this little sliding block, I need to be able to get in this area is what this is going to be riding up and down in. Okay, so let's get that put in. There she goes. Okay, just falling back out again. Hang on, get her in one more time and hold it. Oh my goodness. There you go. Okay, I'm just going to kind of Try to hold that in place. Then put this down through it. Try to get it lined up down here with this bottom hole so that it's not going to come out. And then this spring goes up inside here like that, and the whole thing can get pushed down. So if you remember, when I was taking this out, it was really tight up there through the thread, so I had to kind of pull it down to get it through that threaded area. We're good here. What I need to do now is get a couple other parts out. I'm just going to get this little finial started up here. I'm not really going to crank it down hard, just a bit, just to hold it in place, just to get a general idea of where this presser bar needs to be. I'm just going to set this plate here for a second and get my presser foot on. And this, you know, can be adjusted more later. Oh my goodness. I feel all thumbs today. Do you hear those cows? We had to move some babies, last year's babies, to a new pasture, so the mamas are not happy this morning. I don't know if the microphone picks it up or not. Okay, so I know I don't have the feed dogs in and everything, so this is just approximate. I'm kind of lining up these toes with where the little openings on the plate is. The lifter lever is down, and I think that's a good in general place. I have this screwed in just a little bit, just to have a tiny bit of pressure on there. Okay, so I need this to be on top of here. Hang on. All right, I think we're good now. I need to go ahead and get this bar put on. This is part of the needle height timing situation there. Okay, get this on, and there's a screw that's going to go in here. And in addition to holding this bar on, it works like a little clamp. But I need a different screwdriver and get it cinched on. That's a lot better. So much better. And if you can see, this pointer here is moving up and down there. That's going to come into play when I'm timing up the hook down here. All right, so since that is good, I'm going to go ahead and take this foot off for right now, because that way I'll have more space down here. And when it comes time to put it back on, I can put the little thread cutter on at that point too. Okay. So I've got my tension unit here, and I was just about to line it out and everything, and I realized I'm hungry. And you cannot do this stuff when you are hungry. So I'm going to take a break, go in the house, play with the dogs, eat something yummy, and I will be back later. Okie doke. I am back. So let's get started here. First, there is a little canister type thing that's going to be sliding in here. I'm just making sure that everything is going to fit well. I'm wondering to myself why it seems like it's not. See if I turn this screw in some more, if it's going to fit in again, just to make sure at this point. Okay, yeah, that does. Now, on this machine, I want my spring, where is my spring, to be able to have tension to go up and down like that. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so what I'm going to want is for this spring to kind of have tension where it's up more, and it's going to want to bounce up, and at the lowest point be over here. So when I set my canister in, I'm going to want it kind of like in this orientation with the opening up here. So if I slip this in with the spring end up here and put my post in, oops, I need to back this screw out again. Okay, I put this post in so it's kind of sideways like that. I'm going to back this out a little more. Okay. The bottom of this spring, if you can see, it has a little finger that I'm fitting in between those cogs. Okay, so that's going to hold it still. So okay, kind of like that. That's where I'm going to start it and go ahead and get this little screw cinched in to hold that in place. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now if I slip this in like that, there's a little set screw that's going to go in this side over here and hold it in place. So over here, you can see, I'm just gonna hold it in slightly. I want to be able to have some space for this to be able to move back and forth. There will be a pin in there adding pressure soon. And get this cinched in here. Get a regular screwdriver here. Okay. This isn't quite straight. All right, I think this turned on me. So what I'm going to do is, thankfully I can reach this screw inside here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this little screw, readjust this piece, moving it down just a hair. Okay. And I'm going to tighten that screw up. I'm doing this so that this opening is kind of horizontal here. All right, so yeah, that's pretty good. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so we've got all of these parts here. I have my tension discs. Just lay it down here. Beehive spring, the little tension bar. I'm going to go ahead and stick in there, push it in. Okay, so I don't lose that. Excuse me. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put these two springs on, curved side together like that. And then this little plus and minus piece, that's going to slide on like that. Okay. And then I have my beehive spring right here. Alrighty. And then I have this little washer with the little finger. I'm going to stick that here with the little finger kind of pointing out. And then this little numbered piece, I'm putting it kind of with the number 4 towards the top. And I need to push that in while I get this little nut screwed on. Okay. So everything is looking good there. If I need to adjust this at the end, I can. But for right now, I think that's looking good. Okay, now I'm actually going to need to take this balance wheel off again in order to do my vertical stitch length shaft and everything. But it was really helpful to put it on while I was getting all of this troubleshooted there. So let me go ahead, find my screwdriver, take off this little screw here, and remove the whole thing, just for now, you know. And then it'll go back on, because the hole that I need to be able to access is underneath this wheel, right here. Okay, so with that, let me go ahead and tip her up on her back here and get the parts out for the stitch length. so I've got my little slide plate, and yes, I did strip the black paint off of here and gave it a quick clean. Some never dull, you know. Found at your local auto parts store. I need to get a towel to wipe this off and get it all cleaned up and everything, and get that screwed on. Just a couple screws here to attach it up on top. Actually, you know what? I can't attach this until after I get some things on underneath, because I have to be able to put this piece under here, and I can't put this piece in until this piece is put on. So I'm just going to set this aside for a minute. Isn't that looking pretty? Right, so what's going to be going on inside of here is this piece is going to have, and I'm going to put some oil on this before I put it in, this bearing here, and this slides over that bearing like that, okay? Over here on this side there is a hole, and this screw with this little three-pronged washer from the outside of the machine, this is going to come in here and lock it all together, okay? So that's what's going to be, and this part's going to stick out the bottom here. So with all of that, I'm just going to get started putting some oil on all these pieces, and I have to kind of fish it up in here, so give me a minute. This cannot fit through with the bearing on it for some reason, so let's pop this up here, and I need to reach through here and pop this bearing on. Okay, so that is on there now. And coming through the front here, this fork is going over that. There's a piece on the main shaft up here that this is going to slide over right here, okay? But before it can be engaged totally up there, I need to lower it so that this can slide down over this, right there. Okay, so that's over it, and now I need to lift the fork up over that cog, not letting this piece come loose, which I think it already did. Shoot. If you can see, I kind of have it all lined up. While that is there, I'm looking from the side, trying to lower this piece so I can see where that little screw hole is, so I can line it up and put this in from the side. Alrighty, so looking down here now, I've got a few things to put in. This is my little red dot indicator here. It looks like that red paint has come off. I'm going to put this on, but I'm going to get a little bit of red enamel and just touch that up once everything's set in here. I've got a little spring back here. I'm just going to set it into its little hole right here. You know, I think this spring is upside down. Hang on. All right, that's better. So it collapses in like that. All right, setting this here. And this is going to get screwed in there, but I'm not putting this on yet until I get this plate on. Like so. Let me get the two little screws and attach it on the top and bottom. Okay, so with that attached, now I need to look through there, see where that little screw hole is, and get this threaded on. Might take a minute, because it's a pretty long little screw there. Okay, I need to actually hold this still and turn it. This threaded part, it is slightly bent, but I don't think it's gonna impact the way that this is working if I can line it, the curvy part up and down. Let's see. Okay, so there it is, And I can move this up and down. If I wanted to lock this in, say at the 8 stitches per inch setting, you just screw that in and it stays there, or thread that out and you have full range of motion. Okay, so that brings us down here. So the bobbin case positioning bracket, off camera, did it, cleaned it. It's a complete unit right now. If you want to see the details on how to take them apart and put them back together, I recommend Bob Fowler has a few playlists. I think there's one on a 66, and this is, you know, the same as a 66. And he goes in depth on a few different ones on exactly how to do that. So I would say look at that. For right now, I'm going to get some oil up in this little hole here and get my clean hook, and it's going to get pushed through here. I'm really hoping that I can do this, because I was just thinking, oh my gosh, what if I needed to do this without the needle bar in? I need to loosen this up and get this presser bar out of the way. In order to get this in, I have to have it come straight down with absolutely no angle to it at all. So yeah, I gotta push this up out of the way so I can slide this down. Should have done that earlier. Let me go ahead and get this put back in now. I will readjust this screw here momentarily. So I'm trying to kind of assemble this partially before I push it all on. This piece here, I put a little oil on that already. This part down here pops over that. And this is going to set upright. And I'm going to stick this big old bolt in here. I'm not going to cinch it up all the way yet, but I am going to get the screw that goes right here. Here it is. Okay. Okay, make sure that's not bound up. Nope, it's not. Okay. So now up here, pushing that down all the way, I need this bolt to go through here just to get this started for a second, okay? And so then this is going to go like this, and I'm pushing it over the end, backing it out some. Okay, pushing it over the end of, that is tight. My goodness, I remember it was tight taking it off. Hang on a second. Okay, all right, so that is on the end there. I still need to cinch this up. And you have to cinch this up. If you leave it loose, it's gonna hit there and, you know, nothing will sew. I have my little telephone piece. Sit that up here, and now there's another shouldered bolt. It's gonna go up here like this. All right, let me get all of this kind of settled in, screwed in. This is very tight, but I still need to be able to adjust it. I am going to screw in just a hair more so that I can make a full resolution. Yes, I can now. And get this cinched in. What was that? 9/16. Okay. And yeah, still moves great. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do more stuff down here. Let me get this piece. there is a hole right here that this piece is going to get screwed onto. Now it links on with this big piece, okay? So where these two dimples are, that's where this is going to sit, and I need to put oil on this, but I just wanted to show you. When this is in here, like that, this bearing is going to be riding in that slot, okay? So it's going to be like this. There is this little slot here. I'm putting more oil in it right here, okay? That is where this bearing is sliding in. So it should have been obvious to me, you know, not to do that. So make sure you put your piece on going this way. And get that screwed on like this. And again, after everything, turn it, make sure it's all good. All right, I do have pivot point bolts here. And I am just barely going to get these started up here on top. Just a bit. All right, so if I can slide this in that fork and set these up here. Like that. Okay. That's moving in where it needs to. Everything is still moving well. I'm going to go ahead and put the little nuts on each end here. And, you know, I may need to make a final adjustment position back and forth in a few minutes, so I'm not cinching these down yet. Come on. Get this one in over here. All right, so down here, my stitch length fork, it needs to come up, meet up right here. Throw some oil on it. This is another adjustment point, okay? If you can see, that is not centered. That's an adjustment point. Gonna line it up here. And there is a little 3/8 inch nut. It's going to get cinched in on the back side here. Okay. Again, is everything moving well? Yes, it is. All right. These are my feed dogs, so I need to go ahead and get those put on. So right here, there is a place for a screw to go through. It's going to be this one going this way. And my feed dogs are going to come from the top and slide down. I'm going to put them on just so I can make these adjustment points, but then I'll have to pull it off again probably in just a moment. Okay, so while I kind of hold it here, I'm just going to try to get this screw started in that hole. All right, so if I need to adjust the feed dogs up and down, I can do it here. Just loosen it and manually push it up, tighten it, or lower it and tighten it, okay? What I'm going to be doing is putting a plate, the needle plate back on up here. To move the feed dogs side to side, I'm going to adjust these two screws and nuts. To adjust the feed dogs front to back, I use this screw. So loosen the nut, turn that screw until it's positioned, centered in that little space, and then tighten it back up again. So give me a moment, let me get all of that situated, and I'll be right back. So while I have my plate screwed in well, I just came underneath here and just gently loosened each side, and then wiggling this back and forth, the feed dogs, you know, can kind of settle into the middle comfortably. And so when I see that they're moving well and they're nice and easy there, then I'm going to come back and get these cinched up. So holding this screwdriver there. First, just with my finger. I need to come and with my 9/16 inch wrench. Actually, let me move this down here for a second. While I hold the screw still, I'm gonna cinch in there, that one. Make sure, again, everything still moves well. And then do the same thing down here. Now I have my stitch length set at its longest possible length. And I'm looking straight down. So when the feed dogs come up, I'm looking at how much space I have in there. Not much. And in the very back, when it goes down, how much space do I have? And it's actually pretty centered. It's about the same. And that's moving well, so that's good. So coming down at this level, when the feed dogs are up all the way, different people have different preferences, but that looks pretty good to me. I have all of my teeth exposed, but not a bunch of the solid area. I think that's going to work for me. So I think that's a pretty good placement. I'm going to go ahead and take this plate off, probably take the feed dogs off so I can get my hook pieces and get that timed up, and that way I can see what's going on in there. I might be able to make this work with the feed dogs still in there. We'll give it a go. Nope, I can't. I need to remove it to get this piece in. This post has to go straight down in that hole, and that just won't work with the feed dogs in. Okay. So let's pop this in place here. Oh, you know what? Before this goes in, I need to put this little spring and that screw in place, because that's going to make it very awkward to get to. So this was very tight coming out. Let's see if it goes back in any easier. Yes, it does. Yay, that's great. Okay. Let's tighten that in just a hair. All right. Now, putting this back in. And you know what? Actually, before I do that, I am going to throw some oil. Well, actually, first I need to saturate this with oil. And I'm using my nano oil on here, actually, which works fabulous. Regular sewing machine oil, fabulous, you know. We're just going to make sure it has lots of oil. And I am going to throw just a little bit around the edge here. I'll wipe that off in a second just to get it started. Popping this into that hole, setting this part into that little groove, holding it still. I don't have it timed up right. It's moving though. The whole reason this is knocking is because of down here below, so I just need to readjust that. Poopy. All right, well, anyway, until I get to that, what I need to do is come down here, and there's a hole right here that a very long screw is going to go into. And let me find that. So this is what it looks like. Let's move you out of the way so I can get it started in here. And that is good. It's going to thread in for quite some time. That locks up against that little post that goes straight down. Okay. So this should not want to come out now. Now, this screw here is the infamous screw of death. All hype, I assure you. And basically that's an adjustment point. So if I unscrew it, I'm just showing you now so that you can see. Ooh, very tight. Hang on a sec. So when this screw is loosened, this little springiness right here is going to be able to move in and out. Okay? When you tighten it up, it locks that in place. So once I have this piece in here, need to move you up out of the way. Hang on. Moving this lip over setting that over the edge there and then pushing it back down. Okay. Everything's very loose right now because I have that loose. There's going to be a spacing between this edge of the little bobbin case right here and where this springy part can move in and out. And if you can see, sorry about that, it is movable. Okay, go ahead and put a new needle in her, just a regular size 14 needle. Okay, these are organ needles. Whatever brand suits your fancy is fine with me. The flat part goes against the post over here. I'm sliding it up till you can't slide it up any longer. All right, now comes the fun part, and actually I'm going to pull this back out again so that I can see what's going on in here better. Because I wish this wasn't as tight down below, but I need to be able to rotate this hook here. Okay, I think I have the needle positioned right. Let me go ahead and get this screw tightened up before I lose that place, even though this is so tight, I doubt it's going to smooth. Okay, so what I want is, when my needle is at its lowest position, okay, so let's just turn it again, all the way down to the lowest spot. I'm going to move this so that that pointer, oopsie, is at the top position here. Okay, so that pointer is pointing at the top line. Then I'm going to turn it towards me until the pointer is at the second line. And at that point, down here, the eye of the needle needs to be directly in front of this little point of the round hook here, and the eye of the needle needs to be slightly lower than it, okay? So that if I turn it, you can see it's catching the thread and it's going to bring it around, you know, once I have bobbins and stuff in there. That's the deal. I find that putting a piece of light colored thread in there helps me see where that eye of the needle is and everything, and so I think that is good. I still need to readjust this presser foot. I can do that in a bit. I just wanted to get all of this done. There are some oiling holes. Pretty much anywhere that you see an oil hole, put oil in there, you know. All of the little moving parts that are going to have some friction on them, yeah, go ahead and put oil there. If you put too much, you can always wipe it off, but in my opinion, it's better to over oil and then wipe off than not to put enough in the beginning, especially after something like this where I've completely stripped all the existing oil off in the beginning. Okay, so at this point, this is still loose. That has a lot of room there. There is a specific gauge measurement that you can use to get this, you know, set exactly factory spec, and I'm just kind of sticking that up on top for right now. What I want to see is if I turn this towards me, if it will pick up the thread, carry it around, and bring it back through here. You didn't see that, so I might do it one more time here. Hang on. Okay. All right, so turning it towards me, if it's going to pick up my thread and bring it around, and I want to see specifically this little spot there, if there's enough room for that to slide through easily without having too much play. So I have this little wire, it's a 0.014 inch, and the thickness of this wire should fit in there like that. And while I have this in here, then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it. Right there. All right. Okay, I'm going to call that good. When I'm running it, if it sounds noisy, I can adjust it later. So that bobbin, you know, that would fit right in there. I'm going to go ahead and put the plates back on. The needle bar plate first. No. I need to put my feed dogs on first. That's what I need to do. So let me get these slid back in here like so, and then flip it up and connect it with the screw over here on the bottom. Okay, so with that plate on, to get this one on, first of all, I want to point out, if you look right here, with a very small screwdriver, there's a little divot right there. You can set your little screwdriver in that divot, and this little screw here, the bigger of the two little screws, this is the screw to adjust your bobbin case tension, okay? So that way you can adjust it here without having to, you know, disassemble everything. But to put this on, I'm going to start it up here and come down, and it slides on that way, okay? So you can slide it out until it stops. That little spring we put on is the stopper. I'm going to go ahead and put the little thread cutter on. I'm making sure that the sharp part is up on top. And wiggle it up. If I lift this, ooh, I still need to set the height of this thing. Hang on, just push that up for a second. Put my feed dogs on. Remember, I bought this a long time ago. I'm not sure if this was the purpose, but you know, it is what it is. I'm sure I'll have people tell me, but I want something to put underneath my presser foot as an idea of the gauge that I want for when this is up at its very highest, okay? And that's looking pretty darn high and good to me. So if, oopsie, sorry, I dropped my screwdriver. If this is down all the way, yeah, I think that's pretty good. So when I raise this up, I have a nice spacing down there. Yeah, good deal. All right, I know it feels like we're getting to the end, but I still need to put the light and motor on and assemble the bobbin winder. So we're getting closer, but we're not quite done. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and get the front plate put on. Can't really talk and think at the same time here. There it goes. Okay, I want this screw on enough that it's not going to flop around but not cinched on. I think that's pretty good. Okay, I actually have to grab the dogs and run into town for something, so I might call this good for right now, and then later on today when I'm back, go ahead and finish it up at that point. Alrighty, I'm back. So I'm going to put my bobbin winder onto the belt guard before I put it back on the machine. Putting this spring in. Okay, the little end of the spring pops through there. Putting this little hole on top of the edge of the spring. I'm kind of pushing it over into place. And I need to get this screw started here. It is shouldered, so I need to make sure that I have the little follower thingy here on top of that shoulder. All right. The spring is working. That's good. Let me get the next set of pieces for here. Okay, so for this part, it's kind of a pain. So I'm going to show you the theory, but then honestly I'm going to have to like squeeze it onto my lap while I'm working on it. This spring goes in here. There's a little hole in the casting that this sits on. Okay, so that little tail. Okay, it's in there. Is it? Yes, it is. All right, so this is just at rest. Moving it up and into that slot, the end of this tail into this little cutaway area, that is now under pressure. And I'm going to try to get this on and hold it there so that it can stay. Now, this tail, oh, it keeps wanting to pop out. These things are such a pain. That tail needs to be underneath here, okay? But this is actually the wrong direction. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Okay. Oh, you can see this is just, I will have to do it off camera and just while I'm squeezing it on my lap and everything. Okay, but if this spring is held in there, okay, and it's still in the little hole, don't let the end of the tail come out of the little hole. This is going to need to be under here, and this part, this end of the screw is going to go in there, and it's all going to get cinched in with the follower up above that part, like, well, like that. I'll show you when it's on. Okay, so I've got it on. This is what it's looking like. I need to put a new tire on. So checking the springs to make sure it's going to work. You know, pushing this down. The follower is on. If the bobbin is getting fuller, at the point that this hits a certain point, it's going to stamp up. Okay. So that's where the tail of my spring is. And then there's another little screw. So while holding this pinched in, there's a little screw right here that's going to go in. And once I have this on the machine, I'll screw that in really tight because that's a set point to make sure that this is actually rubbing up against the wheel where it needs to. So let me get a new tire to put on here and I'll be right back. Stretch this on. Okay. Alrighty, and then this should be the little screw that's going to attach it back up here. Okay. So it's going to sit down right here, and I need to get that screwed in. Not sure why it feels tight. Let me see here. There it goes. All right. I just slid her belt back on before I get this adjusted down. So what I'm going to do is when I push it so that that's engaged there, I want to make sure this tire will turn, okay, when the wheel turns. And it will there. So that's the position I'm going to go ahead and cinch this screw into. Okay, so when this comes off, it doesn't turn. Get belt out of the way here. When it goes down, it does. I think we're good. Okay, I need to get the light and motor on, and I just got a call from my girlfriend who got a new to her car, and she's on her way to show me. So if I can get this on before she arrives, that would be great. At this point, this is my little light assembly, which is going to go up here, and this little nub goes in this hole, and the screw is going to go up here, okay? But I need to get this screwed on to the bottom here first. So let me attach that. I'm hoping this is going to work. I need to put this screw through that hole and kind of place it up here, and I'm going to get a long skinny screwdriver, and I think I can reach it this way. hoping. Okay, it's on there, nice and secure, loving that. So now down here, ooh, I took the pulley off when I was masking her up, so I'm just gonna pop this back on, and you can't see what I'm doing. Putting this little pulley back on the motor. I'm gonna line it up, hopefully, where it's gonna work well. There's a little slot in there. Different one. Cinch this a little bit better. Okay. Good. So now I'm going to slide the belt over the pulley. And while I'm holding this in place, get the big mounting screw in here and get that cinched in. Okay, so I've got her plugged in, and I previously changed out her light bulb and cleaned the lens and everything. So if you can see, that's doing great. She doesn't have any thread in her right now, but I just want to see if everything's good. So I have her on a pretty long stitch length here. Oh, well, that's lovely. Everything sounds perfect. And the long stitch length is making I can tell from the hole preparations. It's good. So what I'm going to need to do is get a bobbin, wind the bobbin, thread her up, and then we'll see how she works. So I've got a bobbin in here, just pushing the little ejector button to get it out. And I am going to use some of this ugly little thread. Actually, I need to go this way. I like to wrap it so my thread comes around the front. I don't know if it makes a difference, but to me it does. I have not cinched this down yet. I wanted to see how that placement was before I did. I think it actually needs to be this way. So if it's coming this way and that way and then straight up, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and cinch this down. Okay. And then take the end of my thread, put it through the little hole in the bobbin. Right there. Okay. Pop it on here and turn it until it snaps in. Okay. Did you even see that? Probably not. Let me do it again. So once I have my thread here, there's a hole on the side of your bobbin, or there should be, and it should line up with that little prong. Go ahead and push that down, disconnecting the little clutch wheel. And what a lovely little bobbin winder. Okay, I need to cut this off here. Okay, I think that's about enough thread just for testing, you know. Pretend it's full. Go ahead and pull it off. And then to thread this guy, coming down here. If you can see, there's a little slit here and a bump, okay? Just setting it in, pulling the thread through that slit and up. And that is actually feeling fairly tight to me. So I am going to go ahead, before I even do anything, and back this little screw off a bit. Set her out here. I think this one is too big. Get the tiny screwdriver. Still feels tight. I like to be able to pull it, have it come easily. Oh, that feels better. Have it come easily, but just a tiny bit of drag. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this up mostly, so that thread is in that little cutout area. Come back up here. Put the thread between the two tension discs, over and back down. That little springy hook right there. Back up. And through this little thread take-up lever. Okay, then coming and pop it through that front loop through this little thread guide right here. And then I'm going to thread it out, heading in. First time with thread. Let's see. Oopsie, I think I have something off here. Hang on. Yeah, I need to address some tension issues. Let me do that. My friend just pulled up. I'm going to go visit with her, and I will be back with this later. Welcome to the next morning. I just wanted to show you, she is sewing very nicely. I ended up lowering the feed dogs just a hair, adjusting some tension up and down, you know. But, sorry about that bumping, but she's sewing very balanced, very lovely. Everything sounds great. So I am just going to give her a final cleanup, put her over for her glamour shot, and call her good. Thank you so much for watching this entire escapade, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.